And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, today we're taking a look at Dale of Merchants 2. Now, you don't need to have played Dale of Merchants 1. This is a standalone sequel / expansion to the first game. It is essentially the exact same game as Dale of Merchants, but you don't need Dale of Merchants to play this. Both can be played, they can be mixed together. Now, you may never have even heard of Dale of Merchants. That's fine. I'll explain the game as if you've never played the first one. So let's take a look at this small deck building game with a really strange thing. It's about, the theme of this game is a merchant market of animals. So you have platypuses, or platypi, I'm not sure how the plural that is, and owls and different things all selling items to each other, stealing items from each other. Here's how it plays. In this game, there are 6 animals that are included. We have the owls, who each of the animals has kind of a special thing that they can do, where basically the owls are for interacting with other players. And then we have the platypuses here, which are about getting the cards out of the deck that you need. The sloths will let you do things on a future turn, just not this turn. The polecats basically have a chance. Some of the cards will also actually use this die. The crocodiles are about attacking other player, and the foxes are about, quote-unquote, helping other players, but basically moving cards from one player to the next. So you're going to, let's say you're playing a 4-player game. Whatever number of players you're playing, you're going to take one more animal than the number of players. So in a 4-player game, I would pick 5 animals. So maybe I'd pick these 5, shuffle these together, and that's going to form the deck. So you're going to have a deck here, and you're going to have a market where some cards are going to be placed from the top of the deck out like this that players will be able to buy. Each player is going to get a number 1 animal of the colors of the animals that were selected into their deck, and then enough junk cards to fill their deck up to 10. They're going to shuffle it, and they're going to have 5 cards in their hand. Now, on a player's turn, they have different options that they can do. They can simply discard any number of cards from their hand and draw back up. If you don't like the cards you're getting and looking for a specific card, you can do that. You can buy a card. Now, you'll notice when you buy these cards here that some of the cards have costs up here, 5, 2, 3, 2, 4, but if there's a cost above it, you pay that extra amount. So if I want to buy the scary gunfight card, I'm going to need to pay a total of 5. How do you pay? Well, you use the numbers that are on the cards that you have. So if this is my hand, hey, I have 5, I can get this scary gunfight. Now, when you buy a card, you cannot overpay on purpose. Like if a card costs 2, I can't say, I'm going to pay 5 here and get that card just to get cards out of your hand. You're allowed to overpay. Sometimes there's a very specific rule, which I actually think is a little confusing, but it's essentially in the game to keep you from using this as a way to also discard cards in your hand. Another action that you can do is you can simply play a card for the action on it. I've already mentioned what the different animals do to some degree, but here, like this one, draw the top 3 cards from your deck and put them back in any order. Take the top card from the discard pile and put it on top of your deck. Here, at the start of your next turn, draw a card from your deck and place it in your hand. The scary gunfight. When other players purchase cards, the cards in the market get a +2 to their price until the start of your next turn. This charity, take a random card from each player's hand, choose one of these cards to give back into each player's hand. Binoculars, after another player purchases a card, you can draw a card from your deck and place it in your hand. Then discard a card from your hand. And so some of these are going to, when you play them, they'll stay in front of you as abilities. Some will have an action right away. After a player's turn is over, the market will be refilled with more cards, and the cards that they get rid of are discarded, and you will draw more cards from your pile. If your pile runs out, you'll have your discard pile with all the different cards that you've now purchased and stuff into your draw pile. You'll take those and keep going. Now, how do you win the game? Well, that's what the final action, which I didn't mention. You can put cards in a stall in front of you. The first time you do it, you need to put a stall of exactly 1. The next time you do it, it has to be a stall of exactly 2. And then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until we get to 8. Now the cards only go up to 5. So I could, for example, put this 3 down for a stall of 3, or I could use a 2 and a 1 and put them down for 3, but they have to be the same type. So after you get to 5, you're going to have to use 2 or more cards to do 6, 7, and 8. But they have to all be the same animal. So I couldn't put these together to get 4 because they're 2 different animals. But I could put these 2 together to get 4. That would be fine. Or simply just use a 4. That's pretty much it. You're just going to go around and around and around until one player gets their 8th stall out. That player is the winner. I like Day of Merchants, and I like Day of Merchants 2. They're both very fun games, and they're at their best when mixed together. Why? Because then you have 12 different animals to pick from. It gives you a lot of variety. Not only that, when you put both together, you can ignore the interactive ones, if you will, or the mean ones. Like in this one, the crocodiles seem like they're the mean ones, but they're not the meanest ones. Which ones are the super mean ones? They're the helpful foxes. The foxes are extremely mean, where they take cards from other people's hands and give it back. And in fact, the foxes are my first disliked animal. I mean, like, I hate them. I won't play with them. But you don't need to play with every animal in the box, right? So even if I'm playing a 4-player game, I can still use the other 5 animals. So that's fine. But I just don't like the foxes can take cards out of your hand that you've worked to buy, and it can basically just destroy your strategy that you've worked at, and I find that not as interesting for me, but other people may like it. But it doesn't matter, especially if you have Day of Merchants 1 and 2, you put them together, you just pick the animals you want. But even with just this one, it is fun. Now, my favorite one is the one that includes the die. Why? Because it's a die. I like random stuff, random chance. I'd rather buy someone who gives me a random chance to get something good rather than a solid sure thing. But that's my style, and that's the way this game is. Day of Merchants 2, the same as Day of Merchants, plays very smoothly. Essentially, you have one action in your turns. You're buying something, you're playing a card for its action, you're discarding cards, and then you're drawing more cards into your hand, and you just keep going through. You don't discard your whole hand like many deck building games. Well, you can, I guess, as your action, but so you have to. There's this constant flow of cards that are coming in your hand, and you're trying to get those stalls out there. But when you play the stalls out there, you are losing that card from the deck. So you might have a really great card, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll use it as a stall. But problematically, it's going. I need that card for its cool power, or even its purchasing power. That's good. It makes this a nice, very streamlined deck building game. There's a lot of deck building games out there, and many of them are big, grandiose affairs. Day of Merchants is not. It's an unassuming, almost humble game with some really pretty art. I like the animal artwork, and whoever did the art for this game has really done a good job. I like what they've done here. I wish they would not have called it Day of Merchants 2, because it makes it sound like it's the new updated sequel. It's not. It's the same thing. It's just Tales of Merchants. I wouldn't have called it 2. But it doesn't matter. If you own the first one, you definitely want to get this one because you can mix everything together and have a lot of fun with them. If you've never got one before, this is just as good of a starting point as the first one. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They both have interesting animals. They both feel different, so don't feel like you're getting the same thing. But either one is fine to play a short, fast, fun deck building game that works just as well for 2 and 3 as it does for 4. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!